The following are excerpts from a YouTube video called Must See: How the Illuminati Uses Television to Control Your Mind.
Americans are asking, why do they hate us?
Why do they hate us? He's referring to the alleged terrorists elsewhere on the planet who apparently keep attacking us, the good guys. Well, now here's the lie.
They hate what they see right here in this chamber. A democratically elected government. Their leaders are self-appointed. They hate our freedoms. Our freedom of religion. Our freedom of speech.
Do we really have freedom of speech that people on the other side of the world would hate? Do we really even have much freedom of speech? Freedom of religion? Did he say something about that? Do we really have that? I argue that we don't. Who? What human being would hate freedom? Well, the notion that there are many haters of freedom came out of that mouth that we were just hearing a lot of times during that presidency. But who would really hate freedom? Who? Come on.
Our freedom to vote and assemble and disagree with each other.
Hate it, huh? Well, let's take a listen here on something else. Repetition of an idea like that. Well, hell, repetition is one of the simplest ways to convince people of something. When we hear things multiple times, we tend to believe them more, and they become more familiar. And more familiar things seem more true. Repetition of an idea convinces people of that idea, whether there are strong, logical arguments for the idea or whether there aren't. We also prefer simpler explanations, and if something is too hard to think about, well, we may reject the idea and adopt a simpler explanation.
Every nation, in every region,
Here's the brainwashing.
decision to make. Either you are with us, or you are with the terrorists.
What was that?
Either you're with us, either you love freedom, and with nations which embrace freedom, or you're with the enemy.
Repeat
There's
that.
no in between. You're either with us or you're with the enemy. That's clear. I will continue to make that clear.
Here's the result. A Sunday message on in church. The evils of Islam and their demonic book of Quran. Freedom of religion, huh? Wake up. Islam's goal is destruction of the world. The destruction of freedom. I'm looking here. This is the result. Thousands dead. Innocent people slaughtered. The result of the lies. And the brainwashing. That's right.
We have an
Here's the
obligation
truth.
to every last victim of this illegal aggression because
Here's the truth.
all of this carnage has been done in our name. Since World War II, 90% of the casualties of war are unarmed civilians, a third of them children. Our victims have done nothing to us. From Palestine to Afghanistan to Iraq to Somalia to wherever our next target may be, their murders are not collateral damage. They are the nature of modern warfare. They don't hate us because of our freedoms. They hate us because every day we are funding and committing crimes against humanity. The so-called war on terror is a cover for our military aggression to gain control of the resources of Western Asia. This is sending the poor of this country to kill the poor of those Muslim countries. This is trading blood for oil. This is genocide, and to most of the world, we are the terrorists. In these times, remaining silent on our responsibility to the world and its future is criminal. And in light of our complicity in the supreme crimes against humanity in Iraq and Afghanistan, and ongoing violations of the UN Charter and international law, How dare any American criticize the actions of legitimate resistance to illegal occupation? Our so-called enemies in Afghanistan, Iraq, Palestine, our other colonies around the world, and our inner cities here at home are struggling against the oppressive hand of empire, demanding respect for their humanity. They are labeled insurgents or terrorists for resisting rape and pillage by the white establishment, but they are our brothers and sisters in the struggle for justice. The civilians at the other end of our weapons don't have a choice, but American soldiers have choices. And while there may have been some doubt 5 years ago, today we know the truth. Our soldiers don't sacrifice for duty, honor, country. They sacrifice for Kellogg, Brown, and Root. They don't fight for America, they fight for their lives and their buddies beside them because we put them in a war zone. They're not defending our freedoms. They're laying the foundation for 14 permanent military bases to defend the freedoms of ExxonMobil and British Petroleum. They're not establishing democracy. They're establishing the basis for an economic occupation to continue after the military occupation has ended. Iraqi society today, thanks to American help, is defined by house raids, death squads, checkpoints, detentions, curfews, blood in the streets, and constant violence. We must dare to speak out in support of the Iraqi people who resist and endure the horrific existence we brought upon them through our bloodthirsty imperial crusade. We must dare to speak out in support of those American war resistors, the real military heroes who uphold their oath to defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, including those terrorist cells in Washington, D.C., more commonly known as the legislative, executive, and judicial branches. Frederick Douglass said, "Those who profess to favor freedom and yet depreciate agitation are people who want crops without plowing the ground. They want rain without thunder and lightning. They want the ocean without the roar of its many waters. The struggle may be a moral one, or it may be a physical one, or it may be both, but it must be a struggle. Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never has, and it never will. Every one of us must keep demanding, keep fighting, keep thundering, keep plowing, keep speaking, keep struggling until justice is served. No justice, no peace. No justice."
That's the truth.